This is a tight slap on Imran Khan's face after India flagged the appointment of a terror sympathizer that Pak was trying to appoint him as its envoy in Washington. The Biden administration has blocked Masood Khan's appointment as Pakistan's ambassador to Washington. Now, Masood Khan is no stranger to controversy. He is a known terror sympathizer, viewers. He has shared stage with globally designated terrorists. And why are we surprised? Because when the Prime Minister of a country extols terrorists like Osama bin Laden in the parliament, this is nothing for them. Senior editor Pradeep Datta is with us. Pradeep Datta, Masood Khan's appointment has been blocked by the Biden administration. A story broken on Times Now.
Yes, Pranesh, in fact, that's a very important development because he was appointed in the month of November, and since then his appointment has been kept on hold. No decision has been taken in this regard, and finally it seems this appointment has been blocked, though Pakistan is trying to put blame on India for anti-Masood propaganda. But the reality is that this man has been hobnobbing with the world's most wanted terrorist, Osama bin Laden, who was responsible for 9/11 attack in which hundreds of people were killed. And he had also been sharing stages Hafiz Saeed, who is responsible for 26/11 attack, had also been rubbing shoulders with Sayyid Salahuddin. And he is the one who had been batting for Lady Al-Qaeda, Afia Siddiqui, responsible for attack on American soldiers in Afghanistan. So in such a situation, I think it's a big embarrassment for any country that where they are trying to install a white-collar
Right, and Pradeep, just stay with us because viewers, here's what else Pakistan is up to. Times Now has today accessed an Intel dossier, an Intel report that unmasks a toolkit to malign India. This report, accessed by Padmaja Joshi, contains chronology of the conspiracy, of the anti-India conspiracy in detail. It shows how a coordinated, sponsored digital campaign is launched against India from time to time, and a lobby in our country laps it up, echoes the same thing. And let me quickly open this up. Padmaja is now joining us. She has the dossier. Padmaja, tell us why this exposes the anti-India agenda.
The reason this is important, Pranesh, is because it is always important to know your enemy. So far, there is a conflict industry which thrived, not just survived, but thrived in Kashmir. It had the Jamaat-e-Islami, which was behind it, in indoctrination, in training, in radicalization, and eventually even in weaponizing. Now it is slowly being taken over by the Muslim Brotherhood. For very long, even in international fora, the Muslim Brotherhood has projected itself as the keeper of the Muslim cause. They have been actively lobbying against Israel, and now the similar plot is being replicated in India, where in Israel they used to take up Palestine as a cause. Against India, it is Kashmir which is being used as the Kashmir cause. Now this is done in 5 major steps. There is a very significant ploy which is used. There are 3 countries which are involved, and it is called the BDS movement, which is to block, divest, and then eventually have sanctions put on a country. Israel, for one, on various international platforms has constantly to fight this, not just at a propaganda level, but also on the level of diplomatic intervention, because again and again there are calls for sanctions to be brought against Israel, and now the similar model is being replicated against India. However, the problem is that the image of India largely has been that of an emerging superpower which is peaceful. How do you combat that? So this new cause which is being espoused by the Muslim Brotherhood uses 5 steps in order to first break down India's image, so that then they can ask for action against the country internationally. First, it is the soft image of India that is dented. Campaigns are run to discredit the image of the country, where human rights violations are spoken of, very often, and on Times Now we have called out a lot of fake propaganda where pictures are misused, misrepresented to say India is engaging in human rights violation, especially in Kashmir. But it's not limited to that state alone. You've got the narrative of Islamophobia across the country, which is pushed. Third, the narrative is that of a fascist government, because it's easier to ask for sanctions if you've got a fascist government which is in power. And finally, if we can please, somebody can help me fix this. The fourth step is of where you talk about, third is the narrative of fascist, and then the next step, if we can quickly go to that, is to create a villain. The villain here is Hindutva. So you say that minority rights are crushed by a fascist Hindutva government, and finally you talk about genocide. Now all of these terms which have suddenly come to populate the conversation about India in popular culture, and none of this is a coincidence. When suddenly everything is hyped up to talk about a genocide of prevalent Islamophobia, of Hindutva militancy, and there is an equivalent. You've got a problem in the West which is increasingly waking up to Islamic radicalism, but you also have Hindutva terror, and both of them are same. So if you've got some countries like Pakistan under the scanner for Islamic radicals, India is the place which must be acted against for this Hindutva terrorism, and that really is what is being called out in this OSINT report. Back to you.
And I'll come back to you so that you can take us to page number 12 that details the chronology of the conspiracy. But Pradeep, very quickly, Times Now is exposing the Bharat betas today with this toolkit. I think your mic is not switched on, Pradeep. All right, we'll get back to Pradeep Datta, but let's go back to Padmaja Joshi. The chronology of the anti-India conspiracy, it is titled Chronology of Narrative Building. Point number 1 is Dead India Soft Power, Mahatma Gandhi Non-Violence Yoga Tea. Then build a fascist narrative. The third step in this is narrative of Islamophobia that is peddled by anti-India lobby. Padmaja Joshi is standing by with that chart. Yes, Padmaja.
You're absolutely correct, and this is the 5 steps that have been, of narrative building have been spelled out over here. You mentioned the first 3. The fourth is creating of a villain. You have to create a villain because right now the focus is on Islamic radicalism, of indoctrination. So not only do you have to deflect attention, you have to create a parallel villain, a bogey of this militant Hindutva. And there are a number of people, especially in popular media and popular commentariat, who have been identified, who keep talking about growing fascism in India, militant Hindutva. You've got these organizations who need to be, so every individual event, for example, what happened in Haridwar, absolutely criminal, action was taken, people were booked, but then it was shown as a reflection of what's happening countrywide in India, where there is a radical militant Hindutva which is growing. Then there is a narrative of genocide. Individual crimes are extrapolated to talk about the wiping out of an entire community. And finally, when all of this has been established, Pranesh, you talk about boycott, divestment, sanction movement, where you go to international organizations like the UN and you say, look, this is a fascist government, it is carrying out genocide, sanction them. Back to you.
Thank you, Padmaja and Pradeep, for putting that in context. Bharat Betas Expose, viewers, that's our hashtag. Please use that to engage with us.